We're going to do some exercises. I'm going to save those till the end, because I'm not sure we're running short on time already. Okay, so that was actual proof that I was an author. Those were some of my books. I wanted to start out with this because otherwise I'll forget to say it. It's something you wouldn't think that you would run into in writing, but I run into it in just almost about every book. And that is that depending on your editor, some in YA literature and middle grade, some editors don't want you to use high-level vocabulary because they're like, no, teens don't talk that way. Other editors, and I agree with them more, go ahead and let you use higher vocabulary because they know that that's how kids learn vocabulary as they run into it in books. If you're writers, you're probably smart and probably have a higher vocabulary than most of your peers. So you may run into this. True story, the novel I'm working on revising right now, the word stealthy. The editor was like, that doesn't sound like a teen word, so I was like interviewing 7th graders. Do you know what the word stealthy is? Okay, how many of you guys know what the word stealthy is? Okay, right, okay. So, yeah, sometimes I fight them about it, sometimes I don't. All righty. All right, so here's 10 rules. The first one is just write the scenes and don't worry about all the technical things. Because if you're really concerned about, oh, wait, I need more description here. I need, this dialogue needs to be tight, this whatever. It's just, you make it harder for yourself. So your first draft, oh, okay. Don't, if she screams, it's because I just put something on her pants. All right. Do you mind? Yeah, and if we're still having, difficulty with the video, they'll wonder what that means. Just putting things on my pants. That's what they do. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So your first job with a rough draft is just to get through it, because chances are you're going to, change half of the stuff anyway. So don't worry about polishing it yet. My favorite quote about writing is from Nora Roberts. She says, I can fix a bad page, I can't fix a blank page. So, all right, so then, this is the stuff you need to worry about when you're done with that first draft. Okay, you need to understand that dialogue is not actually the way people talk, but it must sound natural. It's sort of like dialogue's top 10 hits, right? In normal life, when you run into somebody in school, you say, oh, hey, hi, how are you doing? Did you get your homework done? Oh, I didn't. And you say all sorts of chit-chatty things before you say, hey, did you meet the new guy who moved in, right? In your novel, you're going to be like, hi, did you meet the new guy that moved in? You're going to cut out all of the stuff that we say in real life. Okay, now one thing that new authors, they often make the mistake, and that is overloading their dialogue with backstory. Because, you think, oh, I need to let the reader know X, Y, and Z. Well, I'll just have the character mention X, Y, and Z. Well, that might not sound natural, okay? For example, you wouldn't have two friends say, well, we can't invite your brother to our party. He's backpacking across the mountains of Bolivia, right? You probably, if that's the case, then, you know where your brother is. And in real life, you don't usually tell people things that they already know, right? Any sentence that begins with, as you know, that's a clue that you're, putting backstory where it shouldn't be. As you know, here on the planet of Trebor, the firstborn child must go and serve the king. Well, yes, but as you know, if there's twins born, then they can take turns, right? Okay, if you don't believe this, oops, I don't know why that did that. I have been married to my husband for almost 27 years. He has never said this to me. Well, dear, I'm off to my job as an engineer at Orbital Sciences Corporation where I work as a project manager. Okay, not once has he ever said that. But if you were, you needed to get that information across to the readers, how do you do it? What's the right way to write that? Well, there's a couple ways. One is you could make it a natural part of the conversation. Guy walked down the stairs straightening his tie. Well, don't you look nice, Janette said. What's the occasion? He tugged the tie tight. A meeting with a 4-star. I get to explain why the rocket is behind schedule. Sounds fun. Just one more perk of working for Orbital. Okay, so we've gotten all of that information across, but in a way that you could actually believe two people would talk to each other, right? Or, this is even easier, Just put the information in the narration. If you're in that person's point of view, they can be thinking about it. Guy walked down the stairs and gave his wife a kiss. She brushed away a piece of lint on his suit. Good luck with your meeting. Thanks, he said. He had been dealing with generals ever since he became a project manager at Orbital Sciences, but telling them bad news never got easier. Okay, right? Then that kind of seems normal. Okay, use dialogue to reveal characterization. You're going to have very different characters in your book, right? Parents are different than teenagers and talk differently. And, even your friends, depending on their background, their education, whatever, they're going to talk differently. J.K. Rowling was very good at this, making her characters sound different. I'm going to read you just a few lines of dialogue, and I'm assuming you guys have all read Harry Potter? Okay. Yes, okay. If you haven't, then just wait for your neighbor to answer the question. Okay, so this is Harry and mystery person talking. Gulp and gargoyles, Harry. People are still scared. Blimey, this is difficult. See, there was this wizard who went bad as you could go. Worse than worse. His name was... He gulped, but no words came out. Could you write it down, Harry suggested. Nah, I can't spell it. All right, Voldemort. Okay, so who is that speaking? Right, okay. All right, next mystery person. This is during introductions. I'm Ron Weasley, Ron muttered. Harry Potter, said Harry. Are you really? Said mystery person. I know all about you, of course. I got a few extra books for background reading, and you're in modern magical history and the rise of the fall of the dark arts and great wizarding events of the 12th century. Okay, who's that? Hermione. Okay, and that's the first time we meet her, and we know, wow, she's really smart. She's doing extra reading. Okay. I'm disgusted, said mystery person. 4 students out of bed in one night. I've never heard of such a thing before. You, Miss Granger, I thought you had more sense. As for you, Mr. Potter, I thought Gryffindor meant more to you than this. All 3 of you will receive detentions. Yes, you too, Mr. Longbottom. Nothing gives you the right to walk around school at night, especially these days. It's very dangerous, and 50 points will be taken from Gryffindor. Okay, who is that? Right, okay. So they have different ways of speaking. Okay, we're going to do another exercise about this. Pretend a character is being interviewed by a detective in a murder mystery. The detective has come to the character's home and tells them there was Siamese cat fur found at the scene of the crime, but the victim didn't have a cat. The detective then notices that the character has a cat toy lying in the living room and asks, do you have a cat? What kind is it? All right, so I'm going to say, how would your character answer this? But first, we're going to see how other characters might answer. Okay, here we have 4 very different characters. We have sort of a dingy teenage girl, a gangster-looking guy. That was the only picture I could find of a gangster-looking guy. A crazy cat lady. I was afraid if I used anybody else, they would be offended and sue me. So that's me and my 4 cats. And then we have a very shy person down there. Okay, so here's the dialogue. You tell me who said this. Okay. That's a cat toy? No wonder my dog won't play with it. Like, wow, I knew I should have read the packaging. Yeah, okay, yes. Hey, buddy, are you here to interview me or my cat? On second thought, neither of us wants to talk to you. I'm busy and my cat hates strangers. I'd hate to see you get clawed or something. Gangster, yeah. Okay. I don't have a cat. Heaven knows you can't have just one. Cats are like drops of blood. It takes a lot to fill your heart. As far as the toy, well, that's Mr. Wuggles, and he's not a Siamese, just a plain American shorthair, although he would tell you differently. He has delusions of grandeur, I'm afraid. That crazy cat lady. Okay, although I am not a crazy cat lady. I am just the patron saint of stray cats is the problem. They just come to the neighborhood and find my yard, and the children name them. Then they stay. Okay. That's not a cat toy. I have a collection of catnip mice. Some people collect stamps. I collect mice figurines and stuffed animals. What can I say? I just love mice, which is why I don't have a cat. Plus, I'm allergic and really busy, so I'll have to ask you to leave now. Okay, that's kind of the nervous one who probably killed someone, because it's always the shy ones you don't expect. Very few crazy cat ladies kill people. Just saying. Okay. All right, so this is taglines. Now, if you do not use taglines correctly, it is one of the things that will get you rejected very quickly. Because, if you're not using taglines, the agent, the editors, whoever is reading your submission, they just figure, well, this person doesn't know the craft of writing. So they're not going to bother reading past page 3, right? Or 2, or maybe even 1. So the rule is that 90% of the time you're going to use said or asked, and you're going to use sparingly, all those other ones that your teachers in school have told you to use, like exclaimed, explained, interjected, bellowed, promised, repeated, mused, queried. There's a million of them. Think of them as like seasoning or salt. A little you can use when you need to. If you add too much, it ruins it. So let's say you're writing the line, well, how did you do on the test? He asked, okay? How did he do on the test? He asked smugly, Okay, you might need that smugly there to let the reader know that it's not a genuine question. All right, so you're going to resist the urge to spruce up your taglines with adverbs. We see those poor little seds sitting there all by themselves, and you just want to throw, one of these lovely, he said firmly, she said smugly, he said loudly, she said timidly, he said brazenly. And again, unless you need it, she said smugly or something, then you're not going to put those on there. One of the reasons is because it makes your novel sound like a Tom Swifty pun, if you know what these are. There's room for one more, Tom admitted. It's 12 noon, Tom chimed. We have no oranges, Tom said fruitlessly. Have you ever heard of these? Okay, we just struck oil, Tom gushed. It's a bomb, Tom exploded. All right, you don't want your novel sounding like you're accidentally writing Tom Swifties. Okay, and then you are going to really resist the urge to throw on, an ly word with one of those first words, right? He snapped impatiently. How does he usually snap? Sometimes he snaps patiently, but this time it was impatiently, right? It's redundant. He shouted loudly. Usually he's shouting quietly, but this time it was loudly, right? So you don't want to be redundant. So if you need to snap or shout, that's all you use. Okay. Okay, 5, for the most part, keep emotion out of your taglines. Okay, for example, I never want to see your cheating face again, he yelled angrily. You never saw me in the first place, she shouted, her voice full of hate. Okay, there we have the emotion in the taglines. Now, the first problem with this is it's redundant, right? I never want to see your cheating face again. We probably know he didn't say this lovingly, right? So we don't really need that in the first place. But you want the readers to be paying attention to your dialogue, description, your action, not your taglines. Okay, so how do we do this better? Okay, put it in the emotion and the action. He ripped her alimony check out of the checkbook and slapped it into her hand. I never want to see your cheating face again. She took the check and folded it first once, then twice, then folded it again, making the paper as small as it could go. You never saw me in the first place. Okay, do you see already that is much improved? Right? And I also took out the exclamation points. The rule of thumb on exclamation points is don't use very many of them. I generally only use them when characters are really actually shouting. It's just the style right now. They draw attention to themselves. All right, number 6. Your dialogue will be smoother if you use action and point of view to designate who is talking. Okay, so if we're in a character's point of view and then there's a line of dialogue, the reader is just going to expect that person said the dialogue, so you don't need a tag. Also, if you have action, I went over and I threw a piece of candy at you, and then I say something, people are going to assume that, I'm the one speaking. Okay, so I have an example of this to set it up. This is from My Fair Godmother. It is the scene where the main character meets her fairy godmother and his leprechaun assistant. She's a little freaked out about this because she didn't know any of them existed. All right. Okay, my hands went to my mouth and I had to stifle the urge to scream. Instead, I let out quick breaths. I'm having a nervous breakdown, aren't I? He put his hands behind his back and looked up at me. I'm not qualified to comment on your mental health. I'm a leprechaun, not a doctor. Now on with our business. Where is your Miss High and Mighty Godmother? What? I asked. Chrysanthemum of Everstar. He scanned the room. She's here, isn't she? I shook my head. I don't know what you're talking about. He did a full turn on my bed and then a hump. It's just like her to be late. She had to take her own advice every once in a while, and that's the truth. He shot me a dissatisfied look. And I know what you're thinking, seeing a leprechaun and all, but you can't have me gold, so don't even ask. That's not what I had been thinking. I was wondering how long nervous breakdowns lasted and what else was going to pop up in my bedroom. I took a step closer to him. Did I understand you right? Are you meeting someone in my bedroom? Okay, so if you look at this, there's only one tagline in this whole thing. That's I asked. And I actually probably could have left that out because, you know, if there's only two people in a scene, you don't have to have a tagline for everyone. The rule of thumb is don't go more than 4 taglines without telling, reminding us who's speaking. But if there's just 2 people, you don't need them. So nobody reads that and is confused about who's talking or thinks, wow, there should be more saids there, right? Okay. So, another rule is characters shouldn't always say what they're thinking. In real life, we certainly don't, do we? And when you're in somebody's point of view, and you know something about them, but they're not always being forthcoming, it can kind of raise the tension. Sometimes we make the mistake of having our characters always be honest and say exactly what's on their mind. Okay, this is, I have an example of this to set this scene up. There's 2 sisters, Savannah and Jane, and they look very much alike, except for that Jane has always been the quiet, studious one. She never wore makeup, always wore her hair in a ponytail, and Savannah was the sort of like more cheerleader type. She always did her hair, always did her makeup, and was very into fashion. Well, Jane has liked this guy Hunter for a really long time, and he has never noticed her, and he started dating her sister. And she was just kind of devastated by this, so she goes and gets a makeover, and she's going to get a boyfriend kind of to, show him she doesn't need him, because, All right, so this is the scene where he first sees her after her makeover. Oops, okay. Flirting would be a problem for her, she knew, but she'd seen Savannah do it enough times. He looked into a guy's eyes, smiled, and complimented him. She could handle the first 2 tasks on this list. She just needed to come up with some generic compliments that would work on a variety of guys. You're so smart. You're so funny. You have really great biceps. She'd have a boyfriend in no time. Hunter walked into calculus, did a double take, and strode over to her. Savannah, what are you? He stopped as though pulled back on a leash. Jane? New haircut, she told him. Don't feel bad. People have been doing it all day. Oh, he said, and continued to stare at her. Don't you like it, she asked. It's exactly like Savannah's. Right, she said. You're so smart. He broke his gaze away from her for a moment, seeming to come out of a trance. I guess I'd better say yes, or I'll have both of you and Savannah mad at me, won't I? Right, she said, and laughed along with him. You're so funny. He went back to staring and didn't say anything else. Oddly, the silence didn't make her feel awkward. She owned the silence, not the other way around. You're wearing makeup, he said. You didn't used to. I was ready for a change. You have really great biceps, she thought, and I will never let you put your arms around me. Okay, so she's not saying what she thought, and actually, he's not either. We can kind of, guess by, his reaction and the things that come next. Work with that in your dialogue too, because that can be a good tool. And boys in there, those lines would totally work to get a boyfriend, right? Got really great biceps. Yeah. Okay. Try that on them girls later on. Okay. Keep it short. So every once in a while, you'll be tempted to have your characters deliver a speech. Especially if they need to explain some, backstory or something. And that can be very tricky because in real life, there are very few times where, a person just talks and talks and talks and everybody listens to them. I mean, this is one of those times, right? But usually when you have people in a conversation, there's a lot of back and forth. So, keep that in mind too. If for some reason, though, you need to have your characters, deliver that speech about the land of Trebor or wherever else you are, make sure that you break it up with some reactions from the people around, because the readers are going to start wondering, are they hanging on his every word? Are they yawning? Are they looking at him with disbelief? Are they texting? What are the reactions? So put that in. Okay. And we are going to have lots of time for exercises. That's good. Okay. All right. Number 9, have your dialogue match your pacing. Okay, if you guys have ever been really angry at somebody, if you've ever gotten so angry that it's hard for you to speak, and it's, you're not at that point, having a lot of really intricate long sentences. Okay? If you're really afraid, you're also probably not speaking and thinking in really long sentences. For most of the time in your novel, you want to vary, short sentences with long sentences. That just helps your pace go smoother. But in those tense moments, in those climactic moments, you're going to shorten those sentences up. All right. Okay. Number 10. All right. Avoid slang, pop references, spelling words wrong to create accents, and profanity. Okay, I'll go through why each of those. Slang changes really fast, most of it. And it takes a long time for books to come out. One of my first my first YA for the national market, I wrote it, took me a year. I sent it to an agent, did some critique, some revisions for her. Then she sent it to different publishers. One of them bought it. We went through revisions, and then finally it went to bookstores. That whole process, from the time I sent it to my agent till the time it came out in bookstores, took 4 years. Okay, it's a long time. Even now, when my publishers know I have contracts and deadlines, and they're saving me a place in their lineup, it's still about a year from the time I turn in my manuscript till the time it comes out. So you want people to be reading this book for 10 years down the road. So the cool slang right now might not be so cool. In fact, it might be dated by the time the book even comes out. Pop references for the same reason. In one of my books, Revenge of the Cheerleaders, the girls are they're singing in sort of like an American Idol, but it's like a high school idol thing. And one of the characters is that she can sing, but she's a little nervous about performing because she said, "Well, I didn't write my own songs, so I'm just performing." And I had another character say to her, "Well, you don't think Britney Spears got where she is today by writing her own songs." And I chose Britney Spears because she'd been around for a long time, and I thought, okay, she'll still be out when this book comes out, and 10 years later, right, people will still know who she is. Okay, when I wrote that sentence, she was a completely normal person. When the book came out, she had just shaved her head and was being dragged off to a mental institution. And I was just like, you don't think Britney Spears got where she is today. So yeah, you never know what those celebrities, or those people are going to do. So be very careful about putting them in your books. Spelling words wrong to create accents, you can do that a little bit. But what you don't want to do is stop the reader so that they're reading along at this fast clip and all of a sudden they've got to stop and sound out your words to, figure out what you're saying. So you can have a little bit of that. Again, I think J.K. Rowling does a good job with that with Hagrid, where she does do a little bit of different spelling, but you still can tell what the words are, and that's good. Okay, profanity. Authors have very different viewpoints on this, and I know as an author, it is hard when I have a character who would be swearing not to put swear words in there, but if you put swear words in there, then you cut off part of your market. And as an author, I think you should always try and, reach as a big a market as possible. Scholastic book fairs might not, carry your book in their book fairs if it has a lot of profanity. So I don't put it in mine. I have never once had anybody write me and say, your book was really good except for it needed more swearing. Right? Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, now we're going to take some time to do some exercises, and I hope some of you will be brave enough to read them out loud. First one I'm going to have you do is the one with the detective. Okay, think of one of your main characters. If you don't have, it's something that you're working on specifically, just take maybe a character you would like to use sometime or a friend and write how would they respond to the detective asking him about the cat toy. And I'll give you 2-3 minutes to do that, and then we'll read some. Okay, is there anyone who would like to read theirs? Okay, I'll give you a piece of candy. I'll throw one at you anyway. Okay, over here.
So, the detective said, do you have a cat? What kind of it? Checker sat on the couch rubbing his dog in his ears. I don't have to. Just that my dog, Rex, she was naming me from getting to this spot. So it's from the neighbors. Detectives scratching the chin.
over here.
Okay, my character is half fish, so
Mm.
yeah. I don't have a cat. I live under the ocean. Do you think it's going to live?
That's true. It would be wise not to have a cat if you lived under the ocean. Yeah, that's true. Could be catfish.
So the detective asks if the toy belongs to her. Vivian shrugged and kicked the mouse toy out the door. Unofficially, the stupid Morris cat dragged it over here from time to time, but by law, whatever's in my house is mine.
Okay, all right. That character has some attitude, we know, huh? Okay, over here.
The detective asks, do you have a cat? And the character says, I have no cat. If I had, my great-grandmother would have killed by now. Search all your life. I believe there is no cat.
Okay, all right, okay. Maybe innocent. Didn't explain why that cat toy was there. Okay, so now we're going to go back, and I'm going to have you think of your character and a fight that they might have with another person, some sort of argument, disagreement. And I want you to write some dialogue without any taglines, using just, action or point of view. And I will give you a hint. With action, and authors do this a lot, where you have them doing something together. If they're just standing there face to face, it's kind of hard to just do action. But if you're having them wrap presents or cook dinner or hit each other, then it's easier to use that action. Okay, so like 3 minutes. Okay, who would like to read? Or I read again. Oh, wait, I was supposed to give you candy, those people who read, and I didn't. I totally forgot about that. Okay. Okay, we'll see if I'm better at throwing things this time. No, not really. Okay. Catfish Girl? Okay, and then who else read? Okay, and okay, over there. All right, see, this is where you learn you can't trust writers. We make stuff up for a living. We're not going to give you candy after we just said anything. Okay, all right, so who's reading? The boy in the blue T-shirt whom I keep checking candy at. Were you going to read, or were you just asking for your candy?
No, I was just stretching.
You were stretching. Okay, all right. Who wants to read their argument? Okay. Okay, let me give you the candy first, because apparently otherwise I did it right. Awesome.
Anyway, remind me again why we're watching Peter from your backyard. Shh, you might get us caught. I already told you, we're finding evidence that he's half human. You're crazy, Natalie. We've known Peter since he used to eat paste in your mom's basement. That's exactly my point, Ren. We've been around him so long that we just assume that's how he really is. Don't drag me into your weirdness. I only came out here because your house is creepy in the dark. You have to believe me, Ren. I saw him change. I wouldn't have dragged you over here to get proof unless I was certain. What, do you think he's just going to do his thing while we're out here spying on him? He has to, I'm sure of it. You just need to be patient. Right. Because he's just going to change while we're conveniently watching. Wake up, Natalie. Peter's a nice guy. This isn't like your horror movies.
Oh, okay. I love the situation there. That's an awesome situation, and I love the dialogue too. However, I would want you to like, are they like kneeling behind the fence? Like, give us some visuals of like what they're actually doing. Okay. You want to read? Yes. Oh yeah. Again, you need to throw the candy at you. You can both read, but you can read first. Again, awesome throw.
I stared at him in disbelief. You think that's any better than leaving me in the woods to rot alone? Zintharian hung his head and closed his eyes. He was silent. A tear fell down my cheek. Well then, if that's all, then please leave. He shifted his weight. He looked up. He shifted his weight and looked up. His eyes were full of sorrow. Please, I'm sorry.
Oh, how sweet. Okay, awesome. Okay, all right, let me give you your candy. You're good. Okay.
As for an understanding, what, are you just going to walk out on us after all we've been through? She grinned maliciously. Walk out, I never wanted to in the first place. I took a step back. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. You've been with them the whole time? We trusted you.
Oh, good. Lots of, writing fight scenes is great because there's so much good dialogue and tension. Okay, over here. Oh, come on. Okay, wait, she's not looking. That's dangerous. Okay.
Have you no respect for your country? Stand and fight. Do I dare back down? No. Do not dare back down, Jack. Do not dare back down now, Jackson. Do not dare. If you will not fight the good fight, then I guess I fight alone, coward. My freaking leg is broken. I cannot walk. So, I've been paralyzed for half of my life. How do you think I felt?
Oh, okay. Yeah, love that dialogue again. Love that little twist, too. But again, I would like more action there so I can see what's going on. How much time do we have left, minions, in the back? I'm seeing people gathering outside. Somebody was supposed to tell me. What was that?
3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes? Okay. All right. Over here? Oh, hold on. Let me throw a starburst at you. Overthrow.
You didn't even apologize. I didn't need to. I've done nothing wrong. You know, you really had me fooled, Bridget. I thought you were my friend. Well, Miss Know-It-All, here's a piece of information you don't know. We are sisters. That's impossible. I know, adopted in France. I know, I was there.
Whoa, kind of good situation. But I want to know, like, does the person take a step back or they, so give us some action in there so we know what's going on. Okay.
I pointed the gun at the floor as Jesse started to awake, suddenly terrified of shooting him. His gaze fell on my gun first, then my face. If unnecessary, he cocked an eyebrow and rolled onto the couch so he was no longer facing me. I grabbed his shirt collar and forced him to face me. Look, you can explain last night to me now or to my dad in an hour.
Ooh, she's a girl with a gun. Awesome. A man girl with a gun. Yeah, Okay. So.
Chris stomped his foot angrily. I love you, but now you only care about yourself. Ashley stared into his eyes. It wasn't me that changed, it was you. You believe you can fix things, personal things. But you can't. You worry about yourself. Don't invade my personal life. Fine. Chris stormed off. Ashley turned away and tear rolled after him.
Oh, we have 2 girls crying in this class. This is what we do during fights. I hope that other people felt guilty when those girls cried. Okay, you guys did a great job. And, I don't know if those are scenes from your real books, but if not, it sounds like they should be because they're very good. Okay, wait, one last bonus tip is read. It's so important if you want to be a writer that you're always reading something because it will just help you with your own writing, with pacing, and even when the book is bad, that helps you too, because ask yourself, why didn't this work? It was just too slow, the character was too unlikable, but always be analyzing what you're reading, and then that will help you be a better writer. Okay, thank you guys. You've been a great class. If you have any questions, come up and ask me afterwards so I can let you guys go. Okay, now you can clap, guy in the blue shirt. Awesome. Oh, and if any of the rest of you want candy, you can come up and get it.